She was munching on Tato crisps when she vanished. 6-year-old Mary Boyle was walking over to a neighbor's house to return a ladder with her uncle when she decided to turn around and go back to her grandparents' house. She was only a 5-minute walk away, but no trace of her has ever been found. The story of Mary Boyle is one of secrets, lies, and a community left shattered by the loss of a precious little girl. Will the truth come out, or will Mary's fate remain a mystery forever? Let's recap. Thanks for watching True Crime Recaps. I'm Chris. This is the only channel bringing you all the crime in half the time. If that sounds good to you, it would mean a lot to us if you took a moment to give this a like and share this story with a friend. And if you have an idea for a new recap, please let us know in the comments and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified so you don't miss it. Mary Boyle's baffling disappearance has haunted Ireland for almost 50 years. Was she taken by a stranger, or could someone closer to home be responsible for her disappearance? March 18, 1977 was a not-so-typical Friday in the small village of Cashellard in County Donegal, Ireland. It was the day after St. Patrick's Day, so you can bet there was more than one person nursing a headache after too much celebrating the day before. But for the Boyle family, the Saint's Day had a bigger meaning than overindulging at the pub. St. Patrick's Day was the day Anne Boyle's brother died in a farming accident more than a decade earlier. Every year, Anne, her husband Charlie, their oldest son Paddy, and their twin girls, 6-year-old Mary and Anne, made the 25-kilometer trek back to Anne's parents' house to gather together on the Saint's Day to remember the brother they'd lost. That Friday started out pleasantly enough. Most of the adults were inside, while Mary and her twin were outside playing with their brother and 2 cousins. Their uncle, Jerry Gallagher, was doing a little work around the house. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon when he set out across the bog to return a ladder to the neighbors. The area is desolate and remote, but the neighbor's place wasn't far, only about 400 yards away. That was just far enough to appeal to Mary's 6-year-old sense of adventure, so she ran after him. They were walking across the marshy bog when they hit a deep patch of water, too deep for the little girl to wade across without getting soaking wet. So according to Jerry, he told her to go on back to Grandma's house, and the last he saw of Mary, she was turning around and heading back, still happily munching away on her bag of Tato crisps. Meanwhile, he continued on to the neighbors where he dropped off the ladder and stopped to chat for a few minutes. Jerry returned home around 4:30. Mary was nowhere in sight. The rest of the kids were still playing in the yard. Mary's absence had not yet been noticed. Jerry started working on the stone wall running in front of the house. That was the scene when Anne, Mary's mother, stepped outside and asked if anyone had seen Mary. The second time she asked the question, Jerry jumped in his car and sped off down the road. According to an interview she gave the Irish Independent, the first time she'd asked if he'd seen Mary, he didn't answer, as if he didn't hear her. When Jerry got back to the house, he explained that Mary had turned back during their walk. The family drove up and down the surrounding roads, yelling her name, but she had vanished without a trace. The police were notified about 2 hours after the alarm was raised. Officers walked back and forth across the marshy bogs where she was last seen. Mary was just visiting the area. Maybe she got lost. They asked Mary's twin sister, Anne, to step in and trace Mary's steps. She made it back to Grandma's in minutes. It wasn't a long or complicated trek back. Divers even searched the lake behind the house in case the little girl's curiosity had gotten the better of her, but there was no sign of Mary Boyle. Not a thread from the thick cardigan she was wearing, not a brightly colored ribbon from her long hair, not even the bright plastic bag of crisps she was eating was ever found. Over the years, there have been many theories about what happened to Mary. Some believe she was taken by someone passing through the area. One man fishing nearby swore he saw a red car. Others think that Mary was murdered by someone she knew, someone who knew the area and knew where to hide her body so it would never be found. For years, Mary's twin has insisted her sister was killed to keep a dark secret from coming out. She thinks Mary was sexually assaulted and the little girl wasn't the type to keep it quiet. As you might imagine, Jerry Gallagher's name came up early and often. After all, he was the last person to see Mary before she disappeared. But He never confessed to anything, and no official charges were ever filed. That's not to say there wasn't plenty of talk. In 2016, journalist Gemma O'Doherty released a documentary called Mary Boyle, The Untold Story. In the film, she alleges that political pressure stopped police from arresting him. Mary's own mother doesn't believe a word of it. The question of did he or didn't he split the Boyle family. Jerry Gallagher died after a brief illness in January 2023. There was no deathbed confession. If he had anything to hide, he took his secrets with him. But Jerry's not the only one to come under suspicion. Some believe uncle and niece might not have been alone on the bog that day. Robert Black, the notorious Scottish child killer, was working as a truck driver in County Donegal when Mary went missing. It certainly wouldn't be a stretch to imagine him taking her. In 1990, Robert was arrested for snatching 4 little girls between the ages of 5 and 11, tying them up in the back of his filthy van, and sexually assaulting and killing them. Those crimes happened between 1981 and 1986, but Robert is suspected of countless more horrors reaching as far back as the 60s. No evidence tying Robert to Mary has ever been found. He died in prison in 2016. In 2014, a bombshell development sent shockwaves through the country. Brian McMahon, a local amusement arcade owner, was arrested and questioned as a suspect in Mary's disappearance. At the time, he was already doing time for 31 indecent assault charges against a little boy and his brother. He had a weak link to the Boyle family. He grew up with Anne, but claims he didn't know her well and didn't know her daughter Mary at all. He claimed he was innocent. After questioning him, the police agreed. No charges were filed. It was the first and only arrest in this case. Strangely enough, there has never even been a formal inquest into the matter. Mary's mother is fine with that. She has always said she doesn't want an inquest. When she's asked why, she said it's because she doesn't want to believe her daughter is dead. But not everyone in the family feels the same way. Least of all, Anne, Mary's identical twin. She's spearheaded public campaigns to force the coroner to do an inquest, as recently as 2018, but he won't budge. To this day, there still has been no inquest, and today, Mary Boyle is still Ireland's longest missing persons case. What do you think happened to the little girl? And that's your recap.
Thanks for hanging out with us today.
If you like getting all the crime in half the time, go ahead and tap that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a story.
We're here Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but don't go away. Catch up on more recaps right here, right now.
Until next time, take care.